Welcome to Quinguistics. This is going to be a channel where I talk about linguistics, language learning specifically through the lens of the arts. And today, though, specifically, we're going to be focusing on learning Spanish with song. The song in question being Millón de Primaveras por Vicente Fernández. However, if you're learning a different language, these techniques and principles will still apply. So you can feel free to watch the video and be like, oh, even though I'm learning Japanese, I can still do these things he's doing to better study Japanese and to get better at, passive reception. The first video on this channel covers language learning in general and how I learn languages. So if you want a more in-depth explanation as to why music is so useful, you can go look at that video. But for now, I'll just suffice to say that it's memorizable, it's native speech, it's good at passively reinforcing and hearing things you've already learned in the past, and it's really good at practicing pronunciation once you actually start singing and using the song. We're going to go line by line. We're going to cover the meaning of the words, relevant grammar as it incidentally appears in the song, and the meaning of the song itself. And then we're going to do that verse by verse. So without further ado, this is How to Learn Spanish Through Millón de Primaveras por Vicente Fernández. The first line of the song is Te molesta si te hablo de mi amor, which means it annoys you if I speak to you of my love. Now, something we should cover very quickly is that verbs in Spanish, the ending tells you a lot about who's doing the action. For example, molestar means to annoy. If I wanted to say I annoy someone, or I annoy you, for example, yo te molesto. It ends in an O sound. Yo te molesto. If you annoy me, tú me molestas. It ends in this as ending. If I were to say he annoys you, or it annoys you, or she annoys you, it would be él o ella or algo te molesta. It ends in an A. If we annoy you, nosotros te molestamos. If y'all annoy me, ustedes me molestan. And if they annoy you, it would either be ellos te molestan, ellas te molestan if they're all girls, or if it's just several plural things, like let's say the dogs annoy you, you could say los perros te molestan. So, the verb ending will change based off of who's doing what in the sentence. Meaning, in certain cases, you don't even need to put who's doing it because the verb already tells you that. So when I say te molesta, means it annoys you, I don't actually need to put it. It's implied by the verb ending. Something te molesta. You could just say te molesta, right? As for this word, te, it is the form of tú, you, when you are the recipient of an action. So if I were to say, I see you, te veo, te, yo te veo, or just te veo. If I speak to you, te hablo, yo te hablo, but you don't need the yo. Again, you don't need it. And in this example, it's not even here. It's not si yo te hablo de mi amor, it's just te hablo de mi amor. Because, again, this verb ending tells you everything you need to know about who's doing this sentence and to whom, right? So, te molesta, it annoys you. Si, if, te hablo, I speak to you. De, of, mi, my, amor, love. My love. Amor. It annoys you if I speak to you of my love. Now for the second line, here we have y me pides por favor olvide el tema, which means and you ask me please forget the topic. So I'm going to put olvide el tema, or rather por favor olvide el tema in quotes, because that's what this person that Vicente is talking to is saying. She's saying, or maybe he, depends on who you're singing to, por favor olvide el tema, please forget the topic, right? So, here we have another example of the fact that the doer of the sentence, the subject, is being dropped. The normal form would be tú me pides, you ask me, right? But because it's redundant, drop tú, y me pides. Now, pedir is an IR-ER verb. So it's going to operate a little differently than an AR verb, but it's cosmetic, right? So if I'm the one pidiendo, if I'm the one asking, or pidiendo, it would be yo pido, I ask. Or yo te pido, I ask you, right? If you are the one asking, it's tú pides. Tú me pides, you ask me. Me pides, por favor, olvide el tema, right? Él, ella, or something else, it would be pide. ER and IR verbs are going to look a little differently than AR verbs. So for I, it's the same. So if I were to say, I ask you, yo te pido. If I were to say, you ask me, tú me pides, or me pides. If he or she asks me, it's él o ella me pide. If we ask, nosotros pedimos. Notice it's pedimos, not pedemos, because it's an IR verb. So it's pedimos. This is the only form of the verb where it'll matter if it's an ER or an IR. So if it's, entender, entendemos, right? It's going to end with an E if it's ER for we, and it's going to end with an I. It's going to have an I in it if it's we for an IR verb. So, nosotros pedimos. Ustedes piden, y'all ask. And ellos or ellas piden, they ask. Now, por favor, I feel like we know this one. For favor, please. Now, this is a tricky case. This might look confusing or intimidating because olvidar, for those who know, is an AR verb. So if I were to say he forgets, typically it looks like él olvida. But here it ends with an E. Why? Well, this is what we'd call the subjunctive form. How do you make the subjunctive? Briefly, we're going to cover that. So AR verbs end in these A endings, right? Like o, as, a, amos, an. You're going to conjugate an AR verb as if it were an IR or ER verb, right? And then if it's an IR or ER verb, you're going to swap it, right? So where else do you use the subjunctive? You use it to describe actions that are contingent on something else or that are a possibility of happening or desired to happen. Talks about wishes, thoughts, opinions, things like that. So, for example, if I were to say, so what's being described here? This person, the listener to this song, the person to whom Vincent or Vicente is singing, is asking that Vincent forgets the topic. So I'm going to say ella, she, could be a he or a she depending on who you're singing to. Ella quiere, she wants, que Vicente olvide el tema. Again, it's a possibility. It's something she wants, but this action is only happening inside of a thought. The thought being that Vincent forgets the topic. Another example would be, let's use this verb, pedir. So the normal form is pide, he asks. If I were to say, I want you to ask her, I could say, yo quiero, mind you, it ends in an O again because of yo, que tú le pidas. I want you to ask her. This ER-IR verb, now it ends in an AR ending, right? That's because, again, for the subjunctive, they swap. AR becomes IR, ER becomes AR. So we're going to see that again later on in the song, but just know that the function that this change is serving, because I know it looks confusing, it's like these are so many forms. Every single form you see of these different verbs is serving a purpose. And in this case, it is a suggestion. It is asking, por favor, olvide el tema. Please forget, as opposed to olvida el tema. Forget the topic. That's a command. So for the third line, it's going to be y que cambie la letra de mis canciones, which means and that I change the lyrics of my songs, right? So yet again, the subjunctive strikes. So cambiar means to change. Cambiar, to change, right? So the normal form of that would be yo cambio. Yo cambio la letra de mis canciones. That's a description of an action. I change the lyrics of my songs. But this is a request, right? This action would be contained within a hope, okay? So it's y and que that yo cambie la letra de mis canciones. And she's asking me to change the lyrics of my songs. So let's look a little closer at the forms of the subjunctive. So cambio is I change, but when I'm putting it in the subjunctive, because it's typically an AR verb, I'm going to use cambie. Que cambie. Que yo cambie. That I change X, Y, and Z. So cambias means you change. Cambia, he, she, or it change. So, okay, cambias. So if I were to say, I want you to change something, so, or I want that you change something, that's the subjunctive. It's quiero que tú cambies algo. Because if I were to say, tú cambias algo, that's describing an action. Quiero que tú cambies algo is I want for you to change something. So, for I, it's cambie. And for he and she, it is also cambie. So notice, these forms will look the same in the subjunctive. I and he, she, and it will look the same in the subjunctive. This is just something you got to get used to, and the song is a perfect place to get used to it. So, y que cambie la letra de mis canciones, and that I change the lyrics of my songs. So I'm going to put quotations around this as well, because this is also something being asked of the singer. Que cambie la letra de mis canciones. Now, letra, this is a feminine noun, so it's going to be accompanied by the feminine form of the word the, la letra. And in English, we'd say the lyrics with an S. It's a plural noun in English. But I'm going to need you to take English structure and throw it away. These verb forms are different. The way the verbs work is going to be different. Even the way nouns are thought of is going to be different. La letra, it's a singular noun. When we talk about the lyrics of a song in English, the lyrics are nice. But we'd say, la letra es buena. Es, it's a singular thing. What we use plural noun to describe in English, in this specific case, the word for lyrics is a singular word, la letra. So it looks like letter, right? It looks like, something like this, like, oh, la letra, letter. De, of. Now, canción, I'm going to write it like this. Canción is a word that means song. When you put in the plural, if it ends in a consonant and not a vowel, which typically words do in Spanish, you add es for the plural. Canciones, or cañón, meaning a canyon. Cañones, millón, millones. If it ends in a consonant, you add es for the plural. And instead of saying mi canciones, mi is my, but so is mis. Mis means the plural form of my. So if the noun that is yours is plural, you put the s. Mis canciones. So, y que cambie la letra de mis canciones. And that I change the lyrics of my songs. And now the fourth line, y tu nombre and your name, quite ya de aquel poema. Quit already of that poem. So, quitar is the verb here. Quitar means to quit or to leave behind, or to take off in other contexts. So, y tu nombre and your name. So, tu means you, but it also means your. And the only difference between you as in you, like tu as in you, and tu as in your, is the accent. So, tu is as in you. Tu without the accent, they're pronounced exactly the same, is your. So, y tu nombre and your name, quite ya de aquel poema. Yet again, we see the subjunctive. Because it's not quita. Quita is like a command. Like quítatelo, like take it off, or quítalo, like leave it, right? That's a command. Quite, because again, we're treating this AR verb like it's an ER or IR verb. It's a little gentler, it's a little more suggestive. It's a little more, I'm asking you to do this thing. I'm asking you, and then ya means already. So it's like stop it already, like quit it already. Quite ya de, of, so this is already, ya is already, and then de, of, aquel, that. So this word isn't going to be used a lot. You might say like ese poema to say that poem, but it's still there. Aquel, it's a little more formal sounding. That poem. So poema, right? Poema is another example of one of those Greek words that looks feminine, but it is masculine. So when you see poema, again, because it ends in an A, you might think, oh, that's feminine. So I'll say aquella, the feminine form of aquel. No. Aquella poema. No, 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 no. It looks feminine. I know why you want to do that. Aquella, but it's not. Aquel poema, aquel tema. These Greek words, tema, poema, sistema, they look feminine. They're not. Don't let them trick you. That's a good tip. If you're like, oh, these words are confusing me, man. Like, why do they look like they're feminine, but they're not? It's probably because they're Greek. So, y tu nombre and your name, quite ya de aquel poema. Stop it already with that poem. Now, to go over what we've already done. Te molesta, it annoys you, si te hablo de mi amor. If I speak to you of my love. Si te hablo de mi amor. But notice, he kind of smashes these together. It's not te hablo, it's diablo. Diablo. Si te hablo de mi amor. He says mi amor, not mi amor. Because it's just faster. Mi amor. Te molesta. Si te hablo de mi amor. Y me pides, and you ask me, por favor, please, olvide el tema. I suggest, or rather, forget the topic, and it's a suggestion. Olvide el tema. Y que cambie, and that I change la letra, the lyrics, but remember, it's singular in Spanish, de mis canciones, of my songs. Y tu nombre and your name, quite ya de aquel poema. Leave it already of that poem. Leave it behind already of that poem. Like, quite ya is like, stop it already. Quite ya. And again, because it's not quita, because it's normally quitar, it's more of a suggestion than anything. Quite ya. Stop it already. De aquel poema. Of that poem. Next little verse. Te molesta. It annoys you. Aguanta. Aguantar is to hold on or to endure. So here, aguanta is hold on. And now again, it's not subjunctive. It's a command. It's essentially a demand. It's not so, aguanta, but it is a little more direct. Hold on. Por favor, please. So he's saying it annoys you, but please, just hold on. Now we have te lo juro. So juro means I swear. So jurar is to swear. So te lo juro is to you, it, I swear. Now here's where we get into some murky water. So there are pronouns, yo, tú, él, etc., right? And these are the subject forms. So when they're doing the sentence. So yo juro, I swear. Tú juras, you swear. Él o ella jura, he or she swears, right? And then when it's the direct recipient of an action, me, te, and lo. When it's the indirect object of a verb. So if I were to say I give a gift, that is already subject, verb, and object. It's the first bus station, let's just say. But when I give a gift to you, that is the indirect object. You are the indirect object, right? You are receiving the secondary stop, the second bus stop. So for yo and tú, it looks the same, right? So me and te, it looks the same. That's important. But for he and she, or the third person, it's le. So ella is la, and it's le. Back to this. Te is the indirect object form in this case. Te. To you, it, the direct object, I swear. To you, it, I swear. And then this would be estoy, I am, a punto, at point, de, of, olvidarte, forgetting you, or to forget you. So it means I'm about to forget. Estar a punto de, to be about to do something. A punto de, so estar a punto de olvidar is about to forget. Estar a punto de olvidarte is about to forget you. Now, when you have an infinitive verb, aka a verb in its AR form or its IR, ER form, you can put an object pronoun at the end of it to mean like to forget you. Or to speak to you would be hablarte, to speak to you. So if I were to say, I want to speak to you, yo quiero hablarte. If I want to see you, yo quiero verte. So, estar a punto de hacer algo, to be about to do something. So, estoy a punto de olvidarte. I'm about to forget you. Te lo juro, estoy a punto de olvidarte. It's very desperate and romantic, which I love. Te lo juro, estoy a punto de olvidarte. So, solo falta 1,000,000 de primaveras. So let's break it down. Faltar means to lack or to be missing from. So, this is a case where the subject of the sentence, the doer of the sentence, comes after the verb. Spanish does this sometimes for emphasis or poetic reasons. So in this case, 1,000,000 de primaveras, 1,000,000 of springs, is what is lacking. So the normal form of the sentence would be 1,000,000 de primaveras falta. 1,000,000 springs lacks, or 1,000,000 springs is missing. But the verb comes first just to sound prettier. Solo falta 1,000,000 de primaveras. Only 1,000,000 springs is lacking. So for the next verse, we have unos cuantos siglos solo he de adorarte. Now what this means is unos is the plural form of one. So it means something like some, right? Unos cuantos. So cuantos also means some, but it means something more like how many, like cuántas horas, or, cuánto tiempo tienes, how much time do you have, right? It implies a non-specified amount. So these both in combination very much just mean something like just a few, or a couple, or some. Unos cuantos. So then siglos means centuries. So siglo is a masculine word ending in O, and it's also plural, centuries. So that means the adjectives and the things describing it, the modifiers, have to match the gender and the amount. So it's not unas or una or uno, it's unos. It is both masculine and plural. Unos cuantos siglos. And then solo means only. E is the I form of the verb haber. Haber means to have in a more mental or constructed or non-physical sense. Because we have the word tener to mean to have, like, tengo un bolígrafo, or, tengo un micrófono. That means I have a pen or I have a microphone. But haber is a little more, again, emotional. It's mental. It's not so physical and literal. So, yo he, tú has, él, ella, or something, ha, nosotros hemos, we have, ustedes han, y'all have, and ellos or ellas han. And this is the form of have you'd say to say I have done something. He hecho algo. Tú has hecho algo. I've done something. You've done something. Right. De, of, adorarte. So this means something to the effect of that I only have to adore you. So I only have a few centuries to adore you. Right. So de is of, and adorar means to adore. Adorarte is to adore you. I only have a few centuries to adore you. Now, in English, we'd say, I have to adore you. In Spanish, they say, I have of to adore you. Just, again, put English rules and grammar outside of your head. We're using Spanish rules. Next line is the same as 2 lines ago. Solo falta 1,000,000 de primaveras. Only 1,000,000 springs are lacking. Or 1,000,000 of springs lacks. Now we have después de eso, ya no vuelvo a molestarte. So after of that, right? Después, after. Ya no means something more like not anymore. So ya is already, but when you add no to it, it's not anymore. So ya no vuelvo. So that basically means I won't return, right? Literally, already, no, I no return, right? Ya no vuelvo. I won't return anymore. or come back. A molestarte. To, so as, to, or at. Molestar, annoy. We've been over this. Molestarte, to annoy you. So, después de eso, ya no vuelvo a molestarte. After that, I won't come back to annoy you. It bears mentioning that volver is the verb here. Another song by Vicente Fernández. Volver, volver. So, it becomes vuelvo for I, return. Something to note. So, volver, this last syllable is stressed. Volver, when the O becomes stressed, it becomes we. Right? So, vuelvo, vuelves. It's an ER verb, so it's vuelves, vuelve. And because the O is unstressed, we're going to leave it alone. Volvemos. Vuelven. It's stressed, so it becomes we. Vuelven. Yo vuelvo, tú vuelves. Él o ella or something else vuelve. Nosotros volvemos. Ustedes vuelven. And ellos, ellas, or other plural things vuelven. So now, oh no. No volveré a cantarte. So this just means oh no. No volveré means I won't return. So we just covered volver, but now we have a new concept. This is the simple future, right? So will return. I will return. For I, what you're going to do, well, this is for all of them. You just take this verb and you don't change the base form. You leave that. You're just going to tack on an ending after the fact. So for I, yo volveré. I will return. Tú volverás. You will return. Él or ella or whatever, volverá. Volveramos, we will return. Volverán, y'all will return. And volverán, they will return. Mind you, in Mexican Spanish and Latin American Spanish pretty generally, y'all, so ustedes, conjugates exactly the same as ellos or ellas or they in general. So, no volveré means I will not return. A, to or at. Cantarte. So, cantar means to sing. Yo canto, tú cantas, él canta, nosotros cantamos, ustedes cantan, ellos, ellas cantan, right? To sing. Cantarte, to sing to you, right? Cantarte, to sing to you. If it helps you remember, cantar is like to chant, right? So, chanter in French. Cantar. To sing. Cantar. Oh, no, no volveré a cantarte. No, I won't come back to sing to you. If it bothers you. Si te molesta. Si te molesta. If it bothers you. If it bothers you. Nope, I won't come back to sing to you if it bothers you. So, to review. Te molesta, it annoys you. Aguanta. Hold on. Remember, it's a little more firm and affirmative of a command. Aguanta. Hold on. A little desperate. Por favor, please. It annoys you, I know. Please, I'm begging you, just hold on for a second. That's what he's basically saying. Te lo juro, I swear it to you, or to you, it, I swear. Estoy, I am, a punto de, at point of, meaning about to, olvidarte, to forget you. So, I swear to you, I'm about to forget you. Right? Te lo juro, estoy a punto de olvidarte. Solo falta 1,000,000 de primaveras. Only 1,000,000 of springs is lacking. Again, the verb typically comes after the thing doing the verb. Solo 1,000,000 de primaveras falta. 1,000,000 de primaveras falta means 1,000,000 of springs lacks, right? And it's the million that lacks, which is a singular thing, even though it's a million, right? 1,000,000 is lacking. 1,000,000 of springs. So solo falta, the verb comes first to be poetic and pretty. There's no other reason other than that. It just, it just sounds better. Solo falta un millón de primaveras. But it's a very common thing to happen. Like, something I hear all the time is prefiero yo, like I prefer, but it means prefer I. Prefiero yo, XYZ. And then unos cuantos. So essentially something like just a few or a couple. Siglos, centuries. Only, solo. He de adorarte, that I have of adoring you. Right? Oh, how cute. Unos cuantos siglos solo he de adorarte. Just a couple centuries is all I have to adore you. Oh, now, solo falta un millón de primaveras is the same thing. And mind you, this is going to be when you're singing it a high note. It's a G. So you might hear someone modify their vowel to sound a little more open. Because again, if we're looking at the vowels, Spanish E towards the front, like this is your nose, your mouth, blah, blah, blah. Spanish E is somewhere over here. It's a little bit tenser and closer to the top of your mouth, like de. But I personally say like da, because it opens my jaw and lets me have less tension in my throat and jaw so I can actually get the note out. It's a little more open, right? So just keep that in mind in general when you're using music to learn songs, especially if there are high notes involved. You might hear a noise or a vowel placement or whatever that is different to what's typically spoken simply because it's easier or more convenient to sing. So, solo falta un millón de primaveras, but it might sound something more like the or da or de in, you know, when someone's actually singing it. Da. Da. Después, after, de eso. So in Spanish, again, you'd say something like after of. Después de eso, after of that. Ya no, not anymore. Vuelvo, I return. So I won't return. I don't return anymore. It's in the present tense, but we translate it in English in the future. But that's just get used to thinking of it this way. Ya no vuelvo. I don't come back anymore. Right? A molestarte. To annoy you. O no. No volveré a cantarte. Now, when you're saying and singing it, it's going to sound like no volvería. Like it's going to look like this. Or rather, sound like this. Volver ya. No volvería. No volvería a cantarte. Right? But he's saying no volveré a cantarte. It's going to smash these together. That happens a lot in Spanish in general, but especially in songs. Si te molesta. If it annoys you. I won't come back to sing to you. No volveré a cantarte. Si te molesta, si te molesta. If it annoys you, if it annoys you. All right, that was the first part. That was the first verse and the first chorus. Stay tuned for the second part. It'll be out very soon. I'll see y'all later. Stan live.